Ephesians 2:19. You're no longer strangers to the covenant. That includes the Sabbath. For centuries, one lie has silenced millions of believers. The Sabbath is for the Jews. But Paul crushed that excuse with a single verse. Now, therefore, ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and of the household of God. Ephesians 2:19. That's not exclusion, that's full inclusion. You are no longer outsiders to the covenant, you are grafted in, which means the covenant is yours, and that includes the Sabbath. Because the Sabbath isn't just a Jewish tradition, it's the fourth commandment in God's unchanging law. It was given at creation, before sin, before nations, before Israel. In Genesis 2:3, God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it. Not because of Moses, not because of a Jewish feast, but because he rested from all his work. It was a divine memorial of creation. Yet today, pastors tell Gentile believers, the Sabbath isn't for you. But Paul says otherwise. In Ephesians chapter 2, he declares that Gentiles were once aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of promise. But now through the blood of Christ they are brought near, not to a new covenant that deletes God's law, but to the very covenant they were once strangers to. If the Sabbath is part of God's covenant, and it is, then how can you be part of the covenant and reject the Sabbath? You can't. Paul doesn't say the Gentiles replaced Israel. He says they joined the household of God. They didn't create a new building. They entered into one already standing, a house built on the foundation of the apostles and prophets, with Jesus Christ himself as the chief cornerstone. And what did Jesus say? If ye love me, keep my commandments. He didn't separate Jews and Gentiles. He didn't create two standards, one faith, one Lord, one law, one covenant people. The true olive tree. In Romans 11, Paul warns Gentiles not to boast against the natural branches. He says you were grafted in, not to uproot Israel's covenant, but to share in it. That covenant includes the 10 commandments, all 10, not 9. And the fourth commandment begins with one word modern Christians ignore. Remember. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. But many pastors teach amnesia. They tell you the Sabbath was abolished. Yet Paul says, you're now citizens of the covenant, not rebels against it. The Sabbath is your blessing, your identity, your sign of loyalty to the Creator God. Isaiah 56:6-7 says that the sons of the stranger who keep the Sabbath will be brought to God's holy mountain and made joyful in his house of prayer. That's not legalism, that's relationship, that's covenant inclusion. You were once far off, but now you've been brought near. Why would you reject the very sign of belonging? Some claim, Jesus is our rest, so we don't need a Sabbath. But that's not what Scripture teaches. Hebrews 4:9 says, there remains a Sabbath keeping for the people of God. Not a spiritual abstraction, not a symbolic metaphor, a literal rest, sabbatismos, a weekly observance for those walking in covenant with the Most High. If you are no longer a stranger, then stop living like one. Embrace the covenant fully, not just in word, but in obedience. The same God who saved you by grace calls you to walk in his ways, not to earn salvation, but because you are saved. Ephesians 2:19 is not a pass to bypass the commandments. It's a divine invitation to enter into the full inheritance. The Sabbath is part of that inheritance. You are no longer strangers. You are no longer foreigners. You are fellow citizens. That means the covenant is yours, and so is the Sabbath. It's time to stop making excuses and start keeping what God made holy.